From 1967 to 1969, legendary soul singer James Brown performed many times in the Inland Empire. James Brown has been called the hardest working man in show business, Mr. Please, 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 the Godfather of Soul, Mr. Dynamite, and Soul Brother #1. Brown's first 1967 Inland Empire appearance was at one of the region's most iconic concert venues, the Swing Auditorium. The building featured many of the top music acts of the late 1940s through the early 1980s. The Swing's run of concerts ended in 1981 after a small plane crashed into it, killing the pilot, his passenger, and damaging the building. The Orange Show Board of Directors didn't have the funds to repair or replace the building, so in February 1982, they decided to demolish it. The work was completed in March 1982. A second I.E. venue that James Brown played in 1967 was the Royal Tahitian in the neighboring city of Ontario. From 1964 to 1967, the Tiki Polynesian-themed nightclub hosted a number of outdoor summer concerts. In July 1967, the nightclub presented such big-name musical artists as Ella Fitzgerald with Oscar Peterson, Bobby Darin, the Four Tops, the Platters, Ramsey Lewis, Ray Charles with special guest Billy Preston, and of course, James Brown and the Famous Flames. Most of the artists played on multiple nights. The concerts were held at an outdoor amphitheater called the Royal Tahitian Concert Garden. The venue accommodated an audience of up to 1,000. James Brown never lacked for coverage in I.E. radio station print media. A September 1965 KFXM Tiger Mag declared, "If you have ever been fortunate enough to see him in person, you'll know why his fans have tabbed James Brown Mr. Dynamite, as he is truly one of the hardest working and most stimulating artists in show business today." Radio station KMEN was KFXM's main I.E. competition. A November 1965 Came Entertainer front page article reported that James Brown is rock and roll's answer to boxer Sugar Ray Robinson. Brown owns 3 Cadillacs, a 2-ton truck for transporting instruments, a bus for his 21-member cast while on the road, and employs a private chauffeur and a valet. While on the road, he is good for at least $5,000 a night and is good for at least $250,000 a year in personal appearances, not to mention what he makes from his recordings. In 1966, there were 2 KFXM Tiger Mag James Brown articles. The August story told of an LA farewell party before he began his latest tour. The October story reported that Brown was about to become a DJ on 50,000-watt Clear Channel station XERB, an AM border radio outlet in Mexico that also featured Wolfman Jack. A February 1967 Came Entertainer front page article featured the headline, "James Brown in Person." KMEN was presenting the I.E. concert. It reported that King James is coming. In one of his first personal appearances following the Ed Sullivan TV show, James Brown and his entire company will appear in San Bernardino on Wednesday, February 15th. The James Brown Show, featuring over 40 entertainers on stage, will appear at the Swing Auditorium at the National Orange Show grounds, with the complete show starting at 8 p.m. 2 days after the show, a review by Everett Hayes Jr. appeared in the San Bernardino Sun newspaper. The headline read, "James Brown is dynamite to SB teenager fans." In part, the article read, "Last Wednesday night in Swing Auditorium, San Bernardino, there was an explosion of soul, which overcame 3,000 ecstatic youths. The explosion continued over a 3-hour period and the after effects are expected to last for weeks. The dynamite is James Brown. Brown goes by the alias of Mr. Dynamite, and that is no exaggeration. Mr. D puts on a 3-hour show that won't be forgotten for a long time. Through the course of one show, Brown can play the organ, the drums, the trumpet, the guitar, and all of the other instruments in the 11-piece group that plays with him. When not playing the organ, Brown was either singing or leading the band while his guests, James Crawford, Bobby Bird, and the Jewels, sang. The show was a great success. A front-page February 1967 Came Entertainer review reported about 3,500 fans waited in the Swing Auditorium for James Brown to take over the stage for Wednesday night's show. With 40 entertainers in his touring roadshow, the electric excitement really started after Mr. Dynamite himself hit the stage. In early July 1967, radio station KFXM's Tiger Mag reported that the incomparable James Brown was set to make his second appearance of the year at the Swing Auditorium on Saturday, July 8th. KFXM co-sponsored the show. In July 1967, 17-year-old Olivia Cardona had just completed her junior year at I.E. School, Colton High. She attended the July 1967 James Brown concert at the Swing Auditorium. Of the show, she said, "My boyfriend was working security for the James Brown concert and asked me if I wanted to go. We were backstage and James Brown, surrounded by an entourage, walks in wearing a cape. He never talked to us, took off his cape, and performed. He was a very little guy. The audience went crazy the entire concert. I remained and saw the entire concert from backstage." The July 14, 1967 issue of KFXM's Tiger Mag featured this backstage photo of James Brown with KFXM DJ Dick Lyons. A May 8, 1967 article in the San Bernardino Sun newspaper told of a series of concerts coming to Ontario. It reported, "The Royal Tahitian has announced the signing of James Brown and the Famous Flames for an exclusive 6-day engagement in July." Says Walter Boldig, co-owner of the Royal Tahitian, "This is one of the 3 giants in the rhythm and blues field whose public fame is still restricted to a special following. His in-person appeal is unbelievable, and yet the general public is largely unacquainted with him." The 6-day run of concerts took place from July 11th to 16, with ticket prices ranging from $250 to $550 on weeknights, and from $350 to $650 on the weekend, when there were 2 shows a night. July 11th, the opening date of Brown's Ontario concert run, was declared James Brown Day by the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors. In part, this Sun newspaper article read, "Today is James Brown Day in San Bernardino County, as proclaimed by the Board of Supervisors. The singer-entertainer opens tonight at the Royal Tahitian in Ontario. Brown is being honored for his efforts in the field of fighting poverty and educating youngsters. Presentation of the resolution will be today at 5 p.m. at De Anza Park in Ontario. Brown will receive it in person at the bandstand on Euclid Avenue, just south of Mission." The resolution reads, "Whereas he has a $20 million complex of music and publishing corporations, but never forgets his own humble beginnings, and whereas he will now be playing the longest San Bernardino County engagement of his career at the Royal Tahitian, now, therefore, we, the Board of Supervisors of San Bernardino County, do hereby honor James Brown for his talent and good work, and declare July 11th, 1967, James Brown Day in this county." The final concert of James Brown's 6-date residency at the Royal Tahitian Concert Gardens took place on July 16, 1967. On the weekend, a second show was added at 10:15 p.m. But did Brown ever play a return engagement at the venue? The answer is no. In September 2010, Inland Valley Daily Bulletin newspaper columnist David Allen wrote about the fate of the Royal Tahitian nightclub, reporting, "The club obviously was ahead of its time and couldn't last. It closed in 1967 and was turned into the clubhouse for what is now Whispering Lakes Golf Course. The building has been fenced off since April due to decay. Within days, the remnants of the club will be demolished." 2 December KFXM Tiger Mag photos announced that James Brown was returning to play a third 1967 concert at the Swing Auditorium. The show took place on December 31st, New Year's Eve, and again was presented by KFXM. In the weeks leading up to the James Brown New Year's Eve concert, this poster could be seen on telephone poles all over the Inland Empire. In the minds of some, 1967 had been a year of peace and love. But many of the nation's underlying problems were to come to the forefront in the new year. 1968 was a volatile year for the United States, not only because of the ongoing Vietnam War, but in the areas of race relations and politics. The assassinations of civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in April and presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy in June made for a long, hot summer in the U.S. In August 1968, the James Brown Show returned to the Swing Auditorium for his only I.E. appearance of the year. In the wake of Martin Luther King's assassination, Brown had been appealing for peace, attempting to quell the resulting racial tension. But in earlier stops during his tour, there were reports of problems. For example, at an Oakland, California concert in July, 20 civilians and 11 police officers were injured during a disturbance following a James Brown appearance. 26 individuals, including 12 juveniles, were arrested. 150 concert goers were unable to buy tickets and tried to crash the gate. Despite these news reports, 18-year-old Colton resident Eve Perez decided to go see James Brown at the Swing. Back in 1964, Colton Junior High School 8th grader Eve Perez attended her first concert, the Beatles at the Hollywood Bowl. While she said it was an exciting experience, she wasn't seated close to the stage and had a difficult time hearing their music because of the deafening screams of thousands of teenage Beatles fans at the bowl. Moving forward to the summer of 1968, Eve Perez had just graduated from Colton High School and attended the second concert of her life, the August 10th James Brown appearance at the Swing Auditorium. She got in line early and, when admitted, ran to the front of the seating area to get the best view. Eve found Brown's concert more exciting than that of the Beatles because of her closeness to the stage. She was also impressed with Brown's emotional singing, dancing skills, and his ability to take command of the stage. Eve recalled that during the James Brown show, he warned the audience that there would be no violence during his performance because his concert was all about peace and love. Reflecting his recent social and civil rights activism, he sang his most political song to date, "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud." He asked the audience to sing along with him, which they did. In December 1968, radio station KFXM advised its listeners that James Brown was returning to the I.E. on New Year's Day, 1969. The caption read, "James Brown, Mr. Dynamite, will make one of his show-stopping appearances in the Inland Empire January 1st at Swing Auditorium." This ad ran in a late December 1968 San Bernardino Sun newspaper. It reported that tickets for the January 1st, 1969 concert cost $4 and $5. On the day of the show, tickets for children under the age of 12 could be purchased for only 99 cents. In late June 1969, a Sun newspaper article listed July events happening at the National Orange Show grounds in San Bernardino. Among the activities announced were 3 rock and roll concerts are planned in Swing Auditorium on July 12, 19, and 27, the latter a program by singer James Brown. In early December 1969, this Sun article reported that 4 rock concerts were coming to the Swing Auditorium on the National Orange Show grounds. The James Brown Musical Review was set to appear on December 28, 1969. Also appearing that month were the Grateful Dead with Country Joe and the Fish, the Grassroots, and perennial Swing Auditorium performer Lee Michaels. The December 28th James Brown concert was to be his 3rd and final 1969 appearance at the Swing Auditorium. This ad announced that tickets were $3.50 and $5 and could be purchased in San Bernardino at Alvin's Music Center, the Orange Show Ticket Office, the House of Music, and Musicland. Additionally, in Riverside, tickets were available at Gillette's Record Store and in Ontario at Platt's Music. 2 days before the show, this photo and article appeared in the San Bernardino Sun newspaper. In part, it reported, Soul man James Brown returns to San Bernardino's Swing Auditorium with his traveling entourage Sunday. Brown has earned 28 gold records in 12 years, and every consecutive record he has recorded in the last 10 years has hit the best-selling charts of the trade publications. On December 29th, this review appeared in the Sun newspaper. In part, the article read, They ranged all the way from toddlers to grandparents, but they all braved the sharp cold winds last night to see and hear their idol, James Brown. About 5,000 people came to the National Orange Show grounds to hear Brown and his traveling entourage. Several hundred fans were locked out of the Swing Auditorium when the ticket supply ran out. The cavernous Swing Auditorium was about 3/4 filled by a primarily black audience. The show started about 35 minutes later than its scheduled opening of 8 p.m. The audience was generally mute and undemonstrative during an hour warm-up period by the band, singer Gwen Connerly, and Brown's Master of Ceremonies, Maceo Parker. When Brown appeared on the stage, the audience rapidly warmed to him and responded to the star's every move and word. Backed by a 10-piece band, singers, and a Master of Ceremonies comedian, Brown responded to the fans with his twisting, gyrating body motions. The teenage members of his audience appeared to be thoroughly enraptured. While Brown was on stage, teenagers stood on the seats of their chairs, danced in the aisles, tried to force their way through security guard lines to the singing Brown. And so ended James Brown's 1967 to 1969 run of Inland Empire concerts at the Swing Auditorium and the Royal Tahitian. In the following years, Brown would return to the I.E. a number of times, but not with the frequency that he did in the late 1960s. On January 23, 1986, James Brown was in the first group of musicians to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at a ceremony held at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City. James Brown is one of over 60 individuals and bands that are members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and who also made appearances at the Swing Auditorium on the National Orange Show grounds in San Bernardino. As a venue, the Swing hosted the highest number of Rock and Roll Hall of Fame artists to perform in the Inland Empire. One of the final James Brown Inland Empire appearances was at the San Manuel Indian Bingo and Casino on November 20th, 2001. James Brown passed away on Christmas Day 2006 at the age of 73. Today, Mr. Dynamite is still considered one of the all-time live concert performers.